All right. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Hold up, folks. Disclosure's just done a breakdown video of Looking for Love. And mate, I was hooked to the screen. For the uninitiated, Disclosure's this top-notch dance duo from the UK. The Dynamo brothers, Howard and Guy. Now, Guy's the brain behind the beats and the mix downs, the production. Howard, he's sort of the maestro behind the harmony, the one that tugs on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
But it's the most enjoyable part for me.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
harmony.
I've always felt a kindred spirit with Howard, so it was a real treat to hear him talk at length about his songwriting process and philosophy on creativity. These are some of the key takeaways I got from this chat.
And yeah, I just asked them to make like super basic beats, like just kicks and snares, 4/4, and just like, here's the tempo. And then I'd start playing in chords and a bass line, and they would just generally like tell me if it was shit. And they didn't for this one, so that was a good start.
You might reckon that's a bit full on, but when you're having a crack at the big leagues, you need straight up, honest opinions to sift through the bull and tell you what's right and what's not. Is it a ripper or a dud? There's no point flogging a dead horse for a fortnight if it was a fizzer from the get-go.
Yeah, I should probably talk about the chords. 'Cause I'll write like basic versions of the chords I want, and then I'll put them in and then fiddle with them and like change them, and usually ends up being something I then can't play afterwards because there's like either too many notes or like I'm just not good enough. But to be honest, like I actually prefer writing in Logic. Like I prefer just moving the notes around on the screen than I do writing piano, because I feel like I have habits on the piano where like my hands will just land on chords I know. Whereas with that, it's like no matter how long you look at it, you can't really tell what note you're on, so you just listen.
Now, this hits really close to home because if I sit down at the piano, I'm always going to play these same chords. You can defo get a lot more experimental in the piano roll, and it doesn't just work for chords, it works really well for melodies and bass lines. This is something I need to work on. Note to self, spend a little bit more time in the piano roll.
This album's sort of becoming about my experience of heartbreak and various other things, and so it's like, if I want it to reflect what I felt was powerful, and so I need this to be powerful. And when you start like connecting those two things of like what I'm making here needs to represent something that means a lot to me, you put so much more effort into the thing, because otherwise you're doing yourself an injustice. And I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that. So
when you've had your heart broken, sometimes you want to show the person how bad they've hurt you by making some kind of spiteful masterpiece. Real emotion and raw pain are like rocket fuel for songwriting.
what I wanted with this particular tune harmonically was it to just always be moving. Like even if you're sat on the same bass note, I wanted a slightly different inversion or like just a lead note move or something like that.
Yeah. I didn't notice that.
It's not like every single chord, but nearly all of them are moving. Yeah, there's always something changing.
If you're not a keys player, you might find yourself writing in block chords like this. And that can be a bit drab. So you want to add a bit of movement and momentum to keep things interesting. This is a specialty of Howard, and I've heard him speak on it before in the talk breakdown.
I often write chords in like with a melody on the top of them. It's like part of how I write chords is I like hear the top note of the chord and think how I want the melody to go based on that note, and then I rearrange the notes underneath that after doing it. So I end up with these chord progressions that have like a melodic top note. So yeah, loads of our songs end up being written as a result of that top note moving around. I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm not like writing chords like from some trained perspective. Like we did music at college, but like, I don't really remember any of it. And we did classical anyway, so it's not that applicable. It's like, yeah, okay, I could know we're on like the sub-dominant, but it doesn't help me write anything. It's just more like I've got these bass notes and I know how I feel, and like I'm going to keep changing the notes until it sounds like how I feel.
You don't need to be a Mozart on the keys or no theory like Jacob Collier. Howard leans into instinct and style, relying on his ears and how it makes him feel, rather than worry about whether it's correct from some theory point of view or not. Another top example of this are the chords from Latch.
was like, once I realized that was the deal, and it's like, all right, I've actually got as long as I want to just work on these things. I was like, well, I'm going to make them as good as I can. I've probably spent like, I don't know how many hours just on that one MIDI page of like, just of looking at those chords. I've probably changed them like thousands of times.
That's what I want you to be doing.
Yeah, it's what I'm doing. So like when guys like understanding all these technical things, the reason I'm not is because I'm just staring at that MIDI screen. That's all I'm doing. Just like moving notes. Like, okay, I'm going to move that one, just like one semitone, and then I'm going to live with that for 3 hours and be like, does it still sound right? It's like, no, move it back. I'm not getting up until they're like pretty nice.
I'm blown away by the lads' attention to detail. If it's one thing that I've got from all these breakdowns that they've done, it's the little details. It's the automation. It's where the drums sit on the grid. It's making things sound analog. It's automation of synths and reverbs and delays and endless little tweaks. But they all add up to form one brilliant final picture.
Sometimes you know, and sometimes you have to just like essentially give up and just be like, that's the best I can do. If I change it and then I go away like just, I don't know, for a walk, which is often what I'll do to like take a little break or something, and then I come back, I'll like try and think like what's currently going around in my head, and if it's the new one or the old one, and then like whatever's stuck in my head, that's what I'll generally use. I think like showers and stuff when you're not thinking are a really good time to like just check in, like what is the tune going around in my head right now? Is it already a song, or does it need to be written, or is it the one I'm working on? And
the next clip is the boys talking about the energy sessions and how they did over 200 songs in a year. And the reason they brought this up is because they're trying to show the contrast with how they wrote their last record with how they wrote this record.
You're working with a completely new human being who's a totally separate artist, and so they'll come with an idea, and let's say it's like a vocal idea, and it's like a really strong just melody with no harmony. I'll be like, okay, I think the chords should be this, and Guy will be like, okay, I think the beat should be this. I'll be like, okay, and then that's it. And it's like, right, now just work on it and finish the song. And by the end of the day, you've got a fully finished song. And to me, it's amazing, and you can end up with amazing tunes, and I love doing it. But it's the opposite of spending days and days working on the chords. You know, you're like, okay, as fast as I can, what fits that? It's that. Okay, great. It's not this like, what do I actually want to say harmonically, and like, is there something that's been going around in my head that I want to express? It's none of that. It's just like panic, try something, that'll do.
Yeah. And the hit rate of that is low, you know.
It's low. Yeah.
You're not regularly going to be super happy with what you did that day.
I would have thought that working with some of the world's best songwriters and singers over this many sessions would have yielded 10 albums worth of bangers, but apparently not.
Like, it was horrible. Like, we had some really good sessions and we wrote some tunes we really liked, but when you're in that process, everything you write feels like, well, this probably won't make it. Like, statistically, this is unlikely to make the album. Like, so it's, I don't know, it feels like you devalue the song before you've even written it, because I was like uninspired.
Yeah.
I was like, by definition,
writing anyway,
uninspired. Yeah. It's like, let's do an album because we're supposed to. I'll just kind of keep churning out musical ideas, and it felt bad. It felt really bad. Like,
the boys are in a position that most of us could only dream about. You're signed to a major label, you're working at some of the best studios in the world, you're working with some of the best artists, but apparently that doesn't matter. You know, you can't make magic happen on the spot. You can't whip up a banger when someone's breathing down your neck for chords.
When I'm thinking about success, how do you guys define that for a project or a song? Is it commercially? Is it sonically? Is there room for both those things to exist?
Yeah, I think there's room for both to exist. Yeah, like there are songs where, obviously there are songs where the artist's really proud of them, but it flops. And it's like, well, that's a success because they wrote the song they meant, but it's not because financially it's not, or something like that. But depends what your aims are, I think. To find success, you know, by definition, you have to know what you're aiming at. And so, like, for us with this album, it was just the first bit. You know, it's like, can we make an album that we're truly proud of and like finish it? And to us, it feels finished. So like, that's success. But if we were aiming at like #1 album, it's like, well, we haven't done that. So yeah, you can look at the two different kinds of success. But for me, it is taking something that didn't exist and you hear it and then manifesting that into reality. And like, we've made the album we really wanted to make. There's no outside influence. There's no one saying like, please make them all heartbreak songs at 1:38. No one said that. So, you know, we did that because that's how it felt. And so to me, that's a success.
Success literally has to be defined by you. Just because a track doesn't top the Billboard charts doesn't mean it's a dud. Sometimes it's about that inner buzz that you get when you've wrapped up a song and you reckon it's the bee's knees.
So I was like deeply unsure about if the album was good or if like I was like, maybe it's actually just so bad.
He was
like,
freaking
Yeah. I was like, what if it's just
fully.
like really, really bad? And like, because it's quite different to the other stuff we've done. Like, I'm singing a lot more than I usually would, and I just had a wobble. And I
think there's no features to hide behind.
There's no features
either,
to hide behind,
you know,
and it's all
no
about
one's
like
helping.
real shit. Instead, it's none of it's hypothetical. It's all about stuff that actually happened, and it's like that's nerve-wracking, you know. And so I've never been nervous to put music out before. I've always just been like, I like it, let's put it out. This time I was like, oh shit. And so I called Guy and was like, maybe we should pull the album. What if it sucks? And Guy gave me this like sick pep talk where he was like, listen man, we've tried our hardest to make the best thing we can make, and we feel like we've finished it. And so either we put that out and like you get the scrutiny of either people like it or they don't, or you just don't put it out and never know the answer to that question. And I was like, yeah, good point. You know, like that's the best we can do. Like,
Yeah, what else are we going to put out?
yeah, it's like we can just start writing another one and like hope that it's better. Like, I don't know, you might as well put it out and then also start writing another one. So
Everyone battles with self-doubt at all levels of the game, even the professionals. It's something you're going to have to get used to. You have to find ways to get over it. Meet with a mentor if you need to. Find someone to lean on. Find someone that just can put you back on the straight and narrow, or find that strength, find that resilience within.
I think like what disclosure is letting each other do what we're like the best at and just trusting the other person's got that right. And then like the end result is that process. Like when we both just go, my side of things is good, your side of things is good, like tick.
Right, I think we'll wrap it up there. I hope you got something out of that. And if you guys haven't seen it, you should absolutely go and watch the full breakdown over on YouTube, because there's tons of information I left out, especially if you're into music production. Cheers to Disclosure for the solid yarn. Go have a suss of Looking for Love if you haven't heard it. It's a bloody ripper tune. I've had it in my head for weeks. Melody's ridiculous. If you guys want to see more content like this, then consider subscribing and giving me a like on the vid. That helps with the bosses over at YouTube. So thanks for watching. Catch us in the next one.